Already? I haven't even said anything interesting.
Yeah.
Great.
Look at my shirt, by the way, tonight. Do you see? It's a cattronaut for you guys.
I love it.
Ready?
Shot time.
All right. Welcome, everybody, to Drunk Astronomy. We'd like to thank our sponsor tonight, Cheez-Its. We made this all possible. If anybody knows a tequila manufacturer would like to be a sponsor, we're kind of looking for that. First of all, we'll start with the cards and letters. We got a bunch from people all over the world. Adam in Australia sent us a card that said, "It's tomorrow already." So thank you, Adam, for sharing that.
Whoa.
Jose Marie from Spain sent one. I was really bored and there was nothing on TV, so I watched you guys. That's, we're starting to get positive feedback. And finally, Hideki from Japan said, "I care." And I think that was directed at me. I was asking who cared, and now we've got one guy. So okay. Keep sending those cards and letters in. We'll read every one, every show, because we don't get a whole lot. So it's not that funny. We're trying to get some more, Tom. That's all I do.
That's good.
So,
no, definitely. We want to build a community here.
First of all, some introductions. I want to introduce our host, Jupiter Joe from Oakland, California.
Woo!
Maggie, who is our correspondent and fact checker. Atomic Tom, who is here because, he's a brother. We had to invite Atomic Tom, and he knows a lot of shit. And I'm your announcer, Marvelous Mark. So tonight's show, we have some very interesting stuff about Tom Hanks movies. Somehow they come up in this sequence. I'm not sure how.
Cool.
And then we have some astronomy stuff.
Oh.
You guys are going to be very excited. So
Awesome.
Without further ado, I'd like to introduce our host, Jupiter Joe.
Hey, thank you so much, Mark. It's great to be here again on our next episode. And tonight we're going to be discussing the creation of the moon.
If you believe. Okay, wait. I can't.
That's right. And Maggie, you can show your shirt if you wanted to. This would be a good spot.
Oh, so in honor of this, I've worn my cattronaut shirt. The first cattronaut in space.
That's
Okay,
hilarious. Love it. So, Tom, do you have any thoughts about how the moon was created at all?
Well, in my investigations this week, there are a number of theories. There's no absolute, we got it locked, we know exactly what happened. So it's still a little mysterious out there. But the major theory, which they are still investigate, is boom. Somebody hit the Earth early in formation.
Yeah.
Split off a big chunk. That formed the moon.
Yeah, the collision theory. Maggie, what are your thoughts? Do you have any ideas about how we got a moon? Or
Okay, I hadn't really put a lot of thought into this before tonight, so I'm just gonna say maybe like an asteroid came out of the belt and was pulled into the gravitational pull of the Earth.
Uh-huh.
And that's my theory.
Wow, that's good. That is one of the main theories. It's
exactly.
Is it?
Yes.
It's called capture theory.
Awesome.
Where there's just this cool, awesome, perfectly fit moon that's mostly of our material, just wandering through the universe at the proper time.
Oh, well, wait, hold it.
And
We're talking billions of years ago. There was a lot of solar system formation going on at the time. So
yeah,
there were a lot of things wandering around, like as Maggie said.
Is there a way? Is there any any other facts or scientific information that backs the collision theory more than the asteroid or some other theory? Like what?
Yeah, there's basically 5 theories happening these days. So basically the first one is that the moon was created at the same time the Earth was, basically in the same sort of primordial soup happening. And then another is that the collision that Tom was talking about. Then we have yours, the capture.
Mm-hmm.
The newest one is multiple collisions and smaller, not so big. I think that just came out a couple months ago, if I'm not mistaken. Tom, have you heard about that one?
I had not. There is some. I did find some brand new evidence for the collision theory.
Oh yeah.
Because they were talking about if the Earth, and they actually call this other body, they have a name for it, Theia.
Yeah.
Theia. And if they collided, why is the moon and the Earth so similar in composition? And so some of the latest data is that the Earth and the moon are not as similar as they had thought originally.
So, fun fact, my friend Nicole, who is going to be on tonight, her dog's name is Thea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not even kidding. She has an Australian Shepherd named Thea.
She is Mr. Episode. This was hers.
Yeah, she should. Maybe we can cut her in later, or cut the dog.
Just the dog.
Feature
Yes,
that dog.
exactly. Let's get a picture of the dog. So there is another theory that I came upon, which is they call it the Coformation Theory.
Yeah.
That since the solar system was all being formed at the same time, lots of different things going on, that maybe the moon just kind of coalesced around a big chunk that was not part of the Earth. And
so that is the condensation theory, I think, is what you're talking about, Tom.
okay, I think that works.
Yeah. And then I really love the fission theory, where basically it's this big ball. And you know who came up with that is Charles Darwin's son, Chuck Jr.
Well, that's a pretty big shadow, to be raised in.
Yeah. Was he actually an astronomer?
I don't know. I guess he was a thinker. Thought about it. But basically this big ball is, the Earth is, still in the magma form. And as it rotates and speeds up, it thins out like a balloon. If you're rotating it, will punch out in the middle and flatten the top or the bottom. And then as it flattens out, the stuff at the outer edge starts getting caught up with resistance, where then it's just kind of a ball forms from that, the flatness. Tom, can you expound on that a bit?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. Obviously your picture there kind of shows it, right? I mean, I think that I don't know what the dynamics exactly would be, but you're essentially talking about spurting out a little piece of ourselves, right?
Yeah, it's basically as it flattens around, the edge can't keep up with the middle, and so it falls behind.
So you guys have just talked about balls forming out of flatness and spurting in the same 30 seconds.
Now, Maggie, where's your mind?
Real science. Okay. All right.
There we go. That's not a bad picture of it. Yeah, that's kind of the idea.
Maggie, does that look like a ball forming out of the flatness and spurting?
A NASA website talks about that the Pacific Ocean basin might be a site of where that stuff spurted out from.
Right, exactly, the material. Okay, well, this is my point. My point is this: the moon is very important to our existence, and I don't think that something like the collision theory of the creation of the moon holds any salt, because the moon is too important, and it's not left to chance of a collision of the exact amount, the right angle, the right size, the right this, the right that. It's too dang important. Here's some of the responsibilities of the moon. Well, first, it slows the Earth's rotation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tom?
Yeah, no, well, the second one essentially presupposes the first, right? That the tidal action of the moon, it impacts the orbit of the spin of the Earth.
Right.
Have you heard of
the
anthropocentric theory? or sometimes it's called the Goldilocks theory. Why did life form on the Earth?
Well, yeah, I know the Goldilocks concept. Yes, sure.
I think he's saying the exact opposite, right? It had to form because it's important. That's the Goldilocks is saying it happened to form and therefore we're here.
Well, but if those responsibilities are important for the Earth, then it's a part of the Goldilocks hypothesis.
Well, yeah, because they're only important to us as humans, or because there's life on the planet. Otherwise, none of these things would actually be important.
That's right.
In preparing earlier, my wife and I were talking to Alexa about who discovered the moon.
Maybe we should get her on.
Alexa?
It's answering you now.
And what did it say?
Well, it didn't have a very good answer.
Yeah.
It said the moon's been around for billions of years, and like you say, it pops up inside, pretty obviously every month, right? When a full moon rises.
That's right.
The image of the, old, Neanderthal throwing rocks at it, saying, "Oh, it's bad. Get rid of it." What can we do? What about driving people crazy? Lunacy.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I think that has to do with the tide, right? The pull of the water in the mind and the body. We're what, 93% water, 1% tequila, and the rest. So that's my point. Is the main theory, the major theory these days is the collision theory, which I just don't see why everyone puts so much thought into it, because it's too important to have an accidental.
Why couldn't it have just been random? Why wasn't
Yeah,
it
but don't you think all of this is random? Yeah.
Well, I don't think it is actually all random. In fact, I sort of think it's on purpose. All of this formation stuff, that's what a star does, is it creates a bunch of planets to make one in the Goldilocks zone that you were talking about, to make life. That's it. What else is there? That's it.
So you're essentially talking about a solar Gaia theory.
Thank you.
Exactly.
But so
I was going to say that, Joe.
Yeah. Well, so Maggie, did you have a thought?
Well, okay, so if there is a purpose to it, right? And there's something about the nature of the creation of it, so that there's this Goldilocks effect, and there is one planet that creates life. Like, why is there only one in a solar system?
Yeah, or even that. We haven't found anybody out there.
Right.
We haven't. We don't know if they've found us, but we haven't found them.
Right. And
are they the Independence Day guys, or the Klingon, or the Vulcan guys?
Vulcans?
The Vulcans?
Yeah, when the Vulcans showed up from in First Contact, right? They were just like, "Hi guys, let's have a beer." Versus Independence Day comes in and says, "Watch out."
Well, we only realized that there were other planets out in the stars in the 90s, and that was 20, 30 years ago. That was when Pluto was a fucking planet,
Back in the dizzy.
Back in the crazy
Cheers
90s.
to Pluto. Poor Pluto.
Cheers to Pluto. I get it.
Pluto.
Shot time.
Out of line.
There was
R.I.P. Pluto.
I saw a quote that's a woman, an astronomer, said, "I do not accept Pluto's resignation as a planet."
That's right. It wants to be a planet again. I'm sure you.
It did not resign. It was fired.
Some people say furloughed, but
or let go.
You can come back.
You might be able to get your job back.
So we didn't know there was any other planets out there. Now we think that there are literally a planetary system around every single star in the sky. Isn't that incredible?
It's amazing.
That's amazing. And so that's what I'm saying is that this is not an accident. They're all on purpose. And basically, talking philosophically, it's
Watch out there.
they're
I thought I heard theological pop out of your mouth.
yeah. it's the universe giving thought to itself. That's what our existence is all about. And we'll connect with others.
Whoa, that's deep. That's a lot to process.
Thank you, Maggie. Should we take a break?
Have you guys heard about the Gaia theory?
No, not yet.
Not yet. Well, Tom, tell us.
Was that Gaia or Dia?
Gaia.
Yeah.
Gaia.
I know that that's a brand of yoga mats.
Exactly.
It is. But I'd love to hear what the theory is before it got usurped.
Yeah. It's that the it's kind of on a planetary level that Earth is a system that is meant to create life. And there's a variation on the Gaia theory. There was an old comedian who has now passed away, George Carlin, who talked about that the planetary system, that Gaia's purpose was not to create life, but was to create something to create plastic, so that life would disappear and the Earth would have plastic to play with, because the plastic would last, but life would disappear.
Was The Graduate, was anybody writing The Graduate interested in George Carlin's comedy at the time? Because wasn't the future all plastic?
That's right. Plastics. It's the future. Love it. Love the reference too. That's a great reference, Maggie.
Yes. Nice.
So anybody heard of the theory of Pan-Sufism?
Spell the rest. And
you don't have to spell it, dude.
I just listened to a podcast on bulletproof, which is crazy because I had to drive somewhere. And it basically said consciousness is everywhere. Everything has consciousness, not defined as knowing exactly what's happening, but that basically plays into your theory, which is getting so far off astronomy. We're now into the philosophical.
Yeah. So Pan-Sophism, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Well, to bring it back to your point, Maggie, there might be other life forms in our solar system. I think Io is one of the main targets for NASA soon, which is one of the moons of Jupiter. Yeah.
There's
that
a
there might be
big bug in my living room right now, and I'm very distracted.
Let's see put the camera on it, because
I can't. It's making a run for it. Where's my cat when I need? Okay. Sorry, I'm really sorry, but like.
Cut.
I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Just core. Why do we care what the heavens are doing, what the planets are doing, how they were formed, why they were formed? Other than we're trying to find out if there is any meaning or if it's all just, chaos. Like the philosophical and this, science is always either trying to prove a certain philosophy or religious point of view right or wrong. I mean, it's all interconnected. We're trying to find meaning or lack thereof, right?
So
exactly.
Joe and I love the movie Contact.
Me too.
Yeah.
I saw it in the theater when it came out.
Wow, that's pretty good, Mark.
So I think that, Matthew McConaughey's little soliloquy at the end of the movie, right? That we're both searching for truth. Mm-hmm. And so.
Well, I think you're right. And that, just like Maggie says, it's both, Maggie. It's chaos and meaning, which is okay to have.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, a modern, some of this, even the stuff that you're talking about, and Mary, my wife, brought up fractal geometry and stuff. So showing that chaos has patterns, right? That there's not is not a you know, I mean, there's pure randomness, but generally that randomness has a direction or some kind of order to it.
Or it finds its way into some sort of pattern, like numerical sequences or things like that. I mean,
yeah, there's a concept called stochastic, you know, where like where patterns that are semi-random actually provide certain benefits in certain ways, right? So like this is totally off weird, but I heard about, they were thinking that they had found out that if they put a pattern of sensation in the sole of a shoe, that a person that had nerve damage would be better able to feel the soles of their feet. So this randomness would kind of charge the nerves such that they could be more effective. And so that randomness provided a value.
okay. I mean, I don't have somewhere that I fall on I haven't formed any sort of conclusion myself. That's why I like these conversations.
So since we're off topic and Joe can edit this then, so is chemistry just advanced physics and is biology just advanced chemistry?
Well, yeah, they're all merged, right? So there's a physics is the core, you know, so from subatomic to atomic to molecular to, you know, so on and so forth. And then as you get into like, and this is where Tommy was working, there's a subfield of chemistry called physical chemistry. And my son
theoretical chemistry?
No, it's an area where you're looking at the physics of the creation of molecules or the behavior of atoms, but it's a chemistry study. And they're able to do, my son is working in a subfield of this subfield. It's called computational chemistry, and where they can calculate how the electrons are moving on their bonds, such that as, you know, a hydrogen atom comes near to an oxygen atom, and then they start to get, and there's enough energy, how does that form a hydroxyl group, you know, an OH, and then another hydrogen comes in and they get H2O. How does that all form and stuff? What?
This is why we have Tom on these things.
Yeah. That's an interesting question, Tom. Very interesting.
That's physics up to chemistry, and then I agree with your characterization, Mark. You know, chemistry up to biology, right? You know, so
it's all physics.
Physics is the core.
Doesn't it have to start there, right? It has to start there.
But then the variable here, this is that pan thing I heard about.
Pan-sophism.
What's consciousness, and what's the difference between a rock and us?
Yeah.
So,
and for the answer to that, turn into next week's episode.
Well, we'll be interviewing a rock, and asking them the hard-hitting questions.
Lord.
And then we'll actually interview the rock, who will be a guest star on our show.
Yes, please.
He's not confirmed yet, so don't make promises we can't.
Yes, please. Yeah, Maggie, why don't you email Mark?
Don't worry, we'll get lots of the rock in there for you.
I'm just...
Is he your ultimate man?
No, I don't know, but he's a man, and I'm in quarantine, so I haven't been on a date in a while, so. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure this show is going to be changing that.
Why do you think I'm doing this, guys?
Oh, Lord.
Okay, so let's bring it back to a topic. Okay, so the moon again. Now this is another thing that I've never heard explained or never heard talked about, which I think is a huge deal. Okay, so the moon. Now, again, It's not random. It's not by accident. It's definitely an integral part of life. And this is another thing that it does for us. So basically, the Earth creates a magnetic shield around the planet in order to shield a lot of the harmful sun, and what do you call that stuff, Tom? The solar
wind.
solar winds. Which, if there's no magnetic shield around us, that would just fry the planet to dust, and there would be no life. So
That sounds bad.
that is bad. The moon takes the excess amount of material from the Earth, and so that the Earth is the perfect size from the distance of the sun to create the perfect magnetosphere to protect us. And so if all that material was still on the Earth, well, we'd never slow down, but it would disrupt that magnetosphere or let too much energy in, one of the two.
So that should be the number one responsibility of the moon. I don't think it was listed as number one on your slide.
Well, that's because I'm the one that thought of it. There's no scientific thought out there about it.
Well, I am convinced.
There's tequila thought. But
Our next show will be on conspiracy theories.
But Joe, it all comes down to who decided the moon would be the perfect size.
No, it's not who, the process. And because during the formation, again, it's now all of a sudden there's stuff going on. It's a certain distance from the sun and needs to shed out the outer stuff to allow the iron core the amount of iron core to react. Tom's shaking his head.
Because this was in some of the discussions about the collision theory was that the collision and the ejection of that material did help in creating the multi-layer core that is the dynamo, the creation of the magnetosphere.
That it had to expel whatever this extra material was in order to create that?
Yeah. So, I mean, I guess between the spurt theory and the collision theory, I agree that the formation of the moon did have something to do with the magnetosphere. So, the magnetosphere.
Okay, there you go.
Wow.
Okay, I'll take it.
It's interesting because there was some, you're talking about up to the date information, and there's a lot of problems going on with the magnetosphere. Did you guys know about that?
Well,
no, I did not know.
I'm worried.
I don't think they're problems, Tom. It's shifting, though. The North Pole is shifting.
No, there's a weakness in the South Atlantic.
Tell me more. I'm really, really fascinated by that. Okay, so what?
Just so I know, though, is that caused by Trump? Just let's put that out.
Probably.
So so now we've been drawing philosophy and faith in, and now so let's bring politics in. Is that?
No, that's not. Well,
the magnetosphere changed, though.
Tom, though, they're saying that the poles are shifting, right? And they may realign reverse, right? That they say they think that's every 250,000 years. So basically, Maggie, what's happening is the North Pole at the top and the South Pole at the bottom shift every couple 100,000 years.
I remember learning this somewhere.
Really?
And it happens very slowly over hundreds of thousands of years.
Right.
And so we're going through that process right now is the idea?
Yeah. And all of a sudden, all this weather stuff, all the craziest weather, this is months, like last year, the pole shifted like 5 degrees, something like 3 degrees. And I'm thinking, I think the magnetosphere shifting the planet has more to do with the weird weather than any possible thing that we could do to it. So
I did see that movie, though, right? There's a movie about this.
About the magnetosphere, or
all changes, and then the
was that 2012? The movie 2012?
No, it's the other one where New York freezes and the guy has to,
that was about
tomorrow.
That was about
the day after tomorrow
day after
or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was actually about the Atlantic current, the breakdown of the Atlantic current.
I think
Caused
we
by.
shot to that. Shot time, people?
Caused by
Caused by the director who quit 3 days before production started.
Ah,
no, it was a Roland whatever or something, somebody
Roland
that-
Emmerich. I met that guy once. I worked for him.
really?
Yeah,
You
in
tell.
Hollywood.
That's an interesting little sidelight here.
I was hired to go
Absolutely.
to his house and work on all his computer stuff to help him out.
Can
Good
I
guy
see?
or no?
Can I see the slide of the 5 different theories about the moon's creation again? Is that possible? 'Cause
It is possible. Maggie, for you, anything is possible.
I'm just curious. I want to go back to something.
So Joe, where did you find these responsibilities?
I don't want the responsibilities. I want the moon
I
creation.
made them up out of my brain. I didn't
Oh,
find
the theories of creation.
What's the last one? The colliding planetesimals.
Right, well,
Planetesimal.
that's kind of like the collision theory. Instead of one massive moon or one massive object coming in, it's a bunch of smaller objects coming in and it's smacking the Earth and creating the ejecta that then coalesces out to the moon.
Okay, so like very little things shoot out and they eventually come together and form the moon.
Well, little things are bombarding the Earth as it's forming,
Okay.
and then that is spewing out junk. So instead of one big one that comes in and spews out stuff, now it's like a bunch of rabbit punches or something like that.
Okay, got it.
And that was just in the last couple months. I read that came out. Or at least I heard about it in the last couple months.
So does nobody believe in my capture theory?
Well,
Oh no, that is
What?
definitely one of the theories.
yeah, that's
That's one of the big theories.
that's one of the
You're in
big
third
theories.
place. Come on, Maggie.
I mean, I'm still medaling. I got a bronze.
You're on the podium. Yeah, I would take that.
You earned the bronze. You didn't lose the gold, okay?
But why is that one not so credible? I'm just curious.
Well, look, there's no absolute answer, right? So they're
Yeah.
all credible.
That's true. And I think a lot of it has to do with the composition of the planets. Basically the moon is mostly basalt, which is the main rock of our crust of the Earth. It's the same type of rock, and there's very little iron on the moon. And in fact, the iron is pulled towards the Earth through gravity, and that's why you see the patterns. That's where the rabbit comes in, or the man on the moon.
Uh-huh.
That's actually iron, I believe. Tom?
I don't know that answer.
Okay.
I think this is
So
true. Paul will
okay, so
confirm that.
part of why my theory is not as or maybe as I don't know, as popular or maybe has been surpassed by others is because the composition of the moon is in its substance and structure is more similar to the Earth than it is to asteroids or other debris out there. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. And it's exactly the same as the Earth stuff. I mean, it's basalt.
Well,
It's the same
very
rock.
close. It's much more close. Yeah.
So why can't there be life on the moon? It's atmosphere related?
Well, we
that
just
would be
haven't
a
put
big
a
one.
base up there yet. As soon as we put a base up, there'll be life on that fucker.
There'll be life there.
No, but I mean, if you're saying that the basic composition is this, and there's no water, right? Isn't there no water on the moon?
No
Yeah.
atmosphere, right?
Yeah, atmospheres and water.
But
those
there
kind of
are
go-
molecules that they can extract water from. That's the idea, is to smash up the rocks and then you take the H2O out of the rocks and combine it somehow in a little thing.
Is that you guys were talking about hydrogen and other molecules coming together and forming, and
yes.
so
Yeah.
wouldn't
Yeah.
that be valuable information if we were on the moon and we needed to know how to do that?
No doubt. Or
That's what I'm
Mars.
saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that's most of the theories of how do you go to Mars. Moon is relatively close, right? Mars a little bit farther, and so you can't create a spaceship that has enough fuel to go to Mars and come back. So you have to go to Mars, make the fuel, and then come back.
Ah.
Or put the fuel there in the first place, which
Well, but you still then have to carry 2x, 2 times the fuel, right? The fuel that you're going to leave and the fuel that you're going to use to get there.
okay, guess what this line's from? Why build one when you can build two at twice the price?
First rule in government spending. Why build one when you can have two twice the price?
Well, we
That's
know that.
Contact,
Do you know that, Maggie or Mark?
That's the greatest line of Contact. I mean,
So
Oh, that's from Contact? Damn
It is.
the winner of the moon creation for Drunk Astronomy goes to the condensation or accretion theory. This makes the most sense to us. And here are the reasons. The moon's round. It went through a creation process. It slows the planet. Very important for life on Earth. Other planets have moons. Mars has 2 moons. Jupiter has 67 moons. Saturn has 62. Even the recently demoted Pluto has 5 moons. Also for the balance of the magnetosphere, which we discussed earlier. This leads us to believe that the moon is an integral part for the development of life. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the subject. Please leave a comment, subscribe, and ring the bell. All right, well, that's the gist of the moon creation. Tom, do you have any final thoughts that you wanted to pop out there?
Well, in discussing this earlier with my wife, we did want to make note of that we have planted the United States flag on the moon. So essentially, we own the moon. We should.
We have a flag there, but there was a treaty that everybody signed that said you can't own any of the moon. So
Let's just act as if we own that sucker.
fair enough. Well,
Yeah.
I heard there was going to be a Nike swoosh on it soon. Serious.
What movie was that? That was Hancock.
That's not a movie. That's an actual. They want to do that.
Oh my God, branding the moon.
They want to brand it with a Nike.
So Maggie, is there any clarity to hear in all this?
As far as the moon, yes. I got a little thrown off when we started talking about the solar system in general.
Yeah.
But I feel a lot more, I have a greater appreciation for and understanding of the relationship between the Earth and the moon than I did before we started talking. I mean, I really mean that. And it's fascinating to think about. I mean, you think about how the moon is played in mythology and, how important it is to just our psyche from the beginning of recorded time. And it's just really interesting to think about kind of how the two are, it's nice to think that the moon is actually somehow a part of the Earth, and the fact that the moon plays such an important role to life existing on the planet is fascinating. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, the moon actually is moving away from us too.
Really?
At a couple inches a year or something like that. And so, this
like,
is how.
Bye, Felicia.
Yeah. Bye-byes. But this is what Stephen Hawking did when he was talking about the Big Bang. They understood that the universe was expanding, and he thought, well, if it's expanding, if you roll the film backwards, what happens? And it all comes up into a tiny little Tom.
Big Bang. Well,
singularity.
And so this is the whole thing. The moon is moving away slowly. And, that's what's so cool about being alive right now. Those eclipses are perfect, aren't they? Just the most amazing things.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the day, they weren't so great. They really blocked out a lot of it. So you couldn't see the coronal eclipse part, but that's a different thing.
That's theoretical because that was before they could take photographs of that, I'm assuming.
No, this is well, I guess it's
not theoretical, right?
Yeah.
it's
But-
proven because it's proven that everything's moving out.
Yeah, the moon's moving away from us. And
Maybe
so,
we're moving away from the moon.
well, yeah, well, we're
We're
not
like,
moving away
we're over it, dude. Thanks. You've been really great. We got this. We don't need you anymore.
We're gonna
So-
have to, yeah.
I sent to Mark and Joe, who I have email addresses for, a picture, a little YouTube of the actual motion of the solar system, right? So we imagine, there's the stars and they're all moving around, but the reality is the sun is moving at 70,000 miles per hour through the solar system.
Compared
so-
to what though, right? Speed is
The
relative.
center of the
Wow, really?
so
Okay.
it's this very complex dance. What?
She's got
I
a
thought the
question.
sun was stationary and we were just orbiting it around it and everything's just like otherwise like hunky dory.
Joe, send her that.
Yeah, the sun is stationary to us, but it is moving around the galactic center. And
So
the galaxy
we in
is
turn
moving.
are moving around the galactics. We are time traveling like crazy people right now.
Right. And we're on one little arm of the galactic. We're on the Orion arm, I believe.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
good.
know
That's
that
one of
answer.
the few constellations I know.
I love that one.
It's beautiful.
All right, you guys. Think we've solved the moon creation. I've turned out the theories, said why it's so important. And it's not an accident.
Very informative.
I'm not ready to say goodbye. I still have a little wine in my glass. Does anybody want to hang out with me?
Yeah. You have any astronomy questions at all? Any more
Do
topic?
I have any more? I have all the questions. Are you kidding me?
So when did you get your interest in astronomy, Maggie?
I think as soon as I knew that stars existed, and I mean, I have, but it also, can I just tell you that astronomy scares me because it's almost like I don't know if I want to know that much, because if I know that much, then maybe it'll
Be too much.
yeah, I'll know too, and it will take away it'll take away the stories I tell myself that put me to sleep at night. Like the idea that we all came out of a black hole and are, like moving at a tremendous rate out into nothingness is kind of freaky. It's not that easy to just like.
There is
My advice as a father of daughters, Tom has a daughter. Well, you
Yeah.
got is knowing more never hurts. It'll introduce more questions, right?
no. There are some pretty scary theories out there, though. I won't share them.
It starts to get hard, and it starts, and I'm not great at like math, to be honest, and I'm not great at like certain scientific concepts, and so you get to a certain point theoretically, or like you're using certain words and phrases that I don't understand, and so then it gets a little like, oh, this is just outside of I can't
Right. Yeah.
understand this.
I think this is true of most science, is that it can be explained. They talk about the popularizing, right? And that's why Carl Sagan was so great, and now Brian Greene with string theory, and Richard Feynman, who explained quantum mechanics so relatively easily and stuff. So there is a way to make it so that it's understandable without all the math, but there are levels of understanding, no doubt, as well.
Yeah.
But when you come to the core of it, really no one knows, right? We're talking about the theory of the formation of the moon.
Oh yeah,
No
that's
one
too
really knows.
Yeah,
So
I mean, not enough data yet.
Except me.
so that's so I appreciate you saying that, Mark. So it's like I don't have to be like, oh, okay, well, this person has this theory, so therefore I have to just accept that, and that's what it is.
Right.
And that there's
You
room
can-
for your own
That's the whole premise
explanation.
of this. Joe's basically there are the most sophisticated people in the world are saying the moon was formed this way, and Joe's saying, I don't buy it.
Well,
Yeah.
but even the most sophisticated people are saying there's 3, 5 options, whatever, right?
That's good.
Well, that's true, Tom. But the current theory that they're explaining in textbooks is the collision theory with Thea,
Well, but
which is the cat of
yeah,
Maggie's friend.
you don't think the textbooks are saying this is
Yeah.
the most plausible, but there's
No,
these other
they're
additional?
not. They're not. They're saying this is how the moon was formed.
Well, because isn't that the way for not only like the creation of the moon, but how history was written and how we talk about, like textbooks is not where you look to, having multiple different explanations for things.
Yeah. A
Yeah,
high school
yes and no.
textbook cannot go into the complexities. They have, so many months to be able to teach, world history or science. I mean, there's just no. I agree. They're probably being more selective in what they're explaining, but I also think that and so they are probably limiting it to the very bare minimum of theories.
And probably the
I mean,
most
you go to the internet.
digestible for
Excuse
people.
me, Maggie.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I just said and probably the most digestible for people. The thing that's the easiest, like for this kind of subject, for larger swath of people to understand. The nuances and all of the other alternatives is difficult, like in a high school textbook, certainly in the people that are reading those.
But if I was a high schooler and I like I did this week, I type in moon formation, right? Out pops this thing that says, well, there's 3 to 5 different theories, right? So
Yeah,
I mean, it's
but
easily
also
accessible.
Tom, the current accepted theory, scientific accepted theory, is the collision right now. That's so it gives you
So space.com is saying there's 3 theories.
But
that might have changed, right? Now
I thought there was 5 theories.
Well, I know that's
but you
the
can
funny
remember
thing.
the 5th, so you put full moon, I think.
No, that's the
Yeah, whatever.
responsibilities of the moon.
Well, and then so yeah, here they have the protoplanetary disk. So in the text they explain 3, and then in pictures they explain 5. So it is ambiguous to some extent, but there's still a multiplicity of explanations they're giving out there. No, not
Right,
like
again,
this is absolutely true.
But again, the current scientific explanation is the Thea.
But the interesting thing about all this stuff, as you go to there's always a next level, right? As we got here today, right, in our discussion about how the moon formed, we got to the creation, what caused it, and it just always goes to a next level, and no one has any freaking obvious.
And it also changes. Everything changes, and I talked to Mark about this decades ago, I think, and I think my point was proven correctly with, I can't remember what exact subject, but this stuff always changes. So,
but I'm correct no matter what.
As the scientific knowledge
all of the subjects
gathers more information, they do change their conclusions, except for Pluto. That was a wrong choice. And again, going back to Pluto one more time.
R.I.P. Pluto, you should have been a planet.
You are a planet.
You are a planet in my mind.
It wants to be a planet
Size
again.
doesn't matter.
Size doesn't matter.
I have a theory on the Pluto thing.
Okay.
And Eris, it was an astronomer kind of guy who they figured out Eris, and his kid had to do a model for school, and he just said, we can't do it, right? That's like 4 houses away. Let's just take them both out.
The mobile theory. It's the mobile theory.
Right, it's just all practical. You just can't.
Mobile, yeah.
Yeah, you can't do one far enough away to.
If my cat hadn't trashed our mobile of the planets, I'd be hanging up behind me. But that was taken down by a bird catcher planet
I
catcher.
think my cat has found the bug, by the way, because there's a whole situation happening.
You know, if you wanna film that with your computer, we'll put it on.
That's why you have cats.
No kidding.
Our cat ran in with a bird the other day in the house.
Get it.
Your cat's dating a bird? That's weird.
Yeah.
Joe, do you know what I was watching before we did this tonight?
NFL football.
Yep, totally. Lyle Lovett and John Hyatt were doing a Zoom live because they were supposed to be in concert together, but because of this,
Oh,
yeah, it was pretty cool. Yeah, I
that
think
is
you
pretty
would like
cool.
it. Yeah.
I just read an article about they may do concerts like this in the future, like going forward. Just you buy
I
it.
think the person that comes up with, so they were saying this on the Zoom thing, the person that comes up with the way for people to play and sing simultaneously
Yeah.
from different locations
Right.
harmoniously at the same time.
Oh,
That
they
person,
do. They have that
Oh, yeah.
already. It's just very, very, very expensive.
oh,
They have. You could have two different recording studios with two different artists sing at the same time. You link them fiber optically, you know, and that's basically at the speed of light. So there's. So they do record live, but I think it's very only
really expensive.
But yeah, in general though, that would be really cool.
Because, I mean, like, think about the collaborations you could have that way, and at least people could play together.
Yeah.
We could play together. We could have our jam sessions for $1,000 a sesh.
Let's do it. Let's do it. In fact, you should get your guitar. Why don't you play us a quick song? Play
Yeah,
it
no, I'm
backwards.
not doing that. Nice try, Joe. Nice
Come
try.
on.
No,
I'll grab a guitar.
Are you an artist?
I play a little guitar.
Maggie is fantastic. Don't let her fool you. She's great, great, great. Come on, grab your guitar. Just
No,
play.
thank you. Thank you. That's next episode. I do really enjoy it. I hope that I was an okay participant tonight. Sorry for throwing things off at certain points.
You did not throw anything off. You're the star of this whole thing.
I'm not. I'm like your comic relief or something. I don't know what I am. I'm like the like.
No, you're the
like
every person. You're the every
like
person character.
the drunken idiot who's like, wait, what now is happening? Like, what?
Speaking of which, I don't see the eyelid going down at all, pal. You're
No, I
not.
don't think I'm doing that bad tonight.
That's because you're not drinking enough.
This is the last of my wine. So,
All right, I'm gonna have one more shot and then
Okay.
call it a drunken.
Mark, do you have anything left in your glass? Are you done? Dunsky?
A little bit.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Good night, everybody.
All right.
Thank you. That was really fun.
That was fun. See what
Okay,
happens
good night.
Okay.
See you soon.
Thank you, guys. Take care.